Guys, as Graham here from Pro Guarding, and we've got Caleb Pont, one of our Pro Guarding ambassadors, also legend in installing these collars. So
yeah, you need two people to install. So
yeah, just two people to install the collars. It always makes it a little bit easier. But thanks again for purchasing one of our Pro Guarding collars. Just wanted to run through, when you open your box, you've got 8 of these PVC backing straps, and then you've got your hardware. I think there's between 50 and 60 nuts and bolts here, and your stainless steel saddles. You've got your 4 straps here that are spaced evenly on the collar that are attached to the ski for added support. And then Caleb's going to explain what tools we like to use to best install the collar.
yeah, so 10mm spanner and socket is kind of the only size you need socket wise, and you need a T25 to remove some of the plastics on the jet ski, and then we move to a T30 for the nuts and bolts for the hardware of the actual collar. Need a drill. It always helps to have like a little impact driver as well. It just fastens things up a little bit so you're not like, your hands don't get sore. Drill to drill all the holes, and then we found over the past couple installs, try and get some disposable coveralls. So these things are super nice just because you're drilling holes in the fiberglass. You get super itchy, and so that just protects you from that. It's a nice little cover up. And then just some other stuff like a knife, a pen to mark out some holes, and a flathead sort of screwy just to pry off some plastics on the ski. And that's kind of all you need. Maybe a tape measure if you want to get a bit OCD and line them up correctly.
Yeah, you're going to need a tape measure for these backing plates. You'll later see when we start installing it, but we put extra reinforcement we start from the nose and then work our way down the ski. But the first 2 lengths, we've got extra reinforcement. So that's where the high impact area of the collar is, where you're going to be hitting the most waves. So we like to put the most reinforcement in the first 2 strips on the left and right. And these holes are spaced at 75 millimeters or apart for your first left and right length. These are a metre long. So you'll see once we start installing how these come into play. So you got 8 pieces, you only use 7. And then you'll have a spare. So the 8th one's a spare one. You'll end up using 7 of the 8. So I've pre-drilled these backing plates. So you've got, like I said, the first 2 will be 75 mil apart for each hole for your left and right, and then your left and right second and third plate will be at 250 mils apart for each hole.
And then we've also got some straps here. They don't have to be these cam buckle ones, but that just to basically hold the collar to the ski while you're installing it, so you don't so it's just like in place, because otherwise it's like it falls down off the side. So the straps are really nice to just tie. You'll see once we start putting it together, it just makes the job a heap easier. So that's sort of all you need.
Yep. So part 1 of the installation.
Cool, but basically all the plastics have to go off the side of the ski to install the collar basically. So you're going to use a T25 bit for the front on some of these little Allen bits. There's 4 on basically almost every plastic, and then there's a 10mm nut on the other side. So you're just going to put the nut on the other side like that. So basically all 4 on each side around the whole ski, they're all going to have to come off. So that's step 1. And then there's obviously a bolt on here that I might just... Sweet. That won't come off until you do this one. So I like to work from basically the back to the front, because this side piece keeps this nose cone on as well. So back to front usually works the best.
Hey Caleb, just mate.
You want to try and keep all your nuts and bolts, because these back plastic bits are actually going to go back on after the collar. So the front ones don't, and this plastic side skirt doesn't, but this plastic bit at the back goes back on. So make sure you don't lose these bolts that go in here as well. So keep that in mind. With this plastic side skirt, I just like to get a little flathead screwdriver and sort of pry this little plastic bit out, rip the whole thing off, and you're going to see a bunch of rivets. So these pop rivets just get drilled out with this, and that whole side skirt's going to come off.
So this stage is just drilling out the existing pop rivets. The rivets out.
So if the head is obviously sticking still like through, you can just sort of... Sometimes you can get grab pliers, yeah, too, from the backside as well.
All right, guys, we're at step 2 now. We're unwrap the collar. We're just going to put it in position, starting from the nose, and then we'll prop it up in position so it's sitting in a similar position to how it's going to sit on the actual ski. So again, this is where you're going to need 2 people.
Like just grab some of these straps and just kind of just put them along here or like anywhere that you can tie to. I might need a bit longer one, use these other ones, but just so it sits sort of in the position that you want. So it just like kind of makes it a lot easier when you're sort of drilling and got it all lined up. So we're going to strap them all to the ski and then start drilling from the nose up.
So we've got it roughly in position. The idea of having the straps to secure it to the ski is just to eliminate you wrestling it while you're trying to install it, because we're going to install it from the nose first. So if it's dangling down on the ground, it's going to be harder to wrestle than the straps supporting the weight. So what we're going to do now is going to put some air into it just so the collar finds its shape. We won't install it with the air in it. We'll definitely let the 3/4 of the air or the majority of the air out of the collar, but we're just going to pump it up just to give the collar some shape, and it'll just make it easier to work with through the install. All right, so now we're about to install the collar. As discussed, we're going to start from the nose and then work our way down the collar. The first backing plate has got, you can see the holes in it. They're spaced at 75mm each hole. This gives it extra reinforcement at the nose because this is the most high impact area where the collar is going to be getting the most waves when you're jumping waves and stuff. So it's going to be experiencing the most load through this front. That's why we've got more nuts and bolts in the front. So we're going to start with this one. We're going to work from the left to the right and put the first 2 on and then work our way back.
You just got to make sure you line this centerpiece up with the front of the ski. So we've done a couple installs now, and if you don't line this up, you can have the odd crease in the corner because the whole collar's off center. So you really want to make sure that this centerpiece, when you drill that first hole, is like directly in the center because that sets up your whole install. And then also, this is where we put our little sperm suits on because the fiberglass drilling, you get a bit itchy. So that's why we look maybe a little bit silly right now, but it has a purpose. Yeah, so we've just, after we pumped it up and got it in position, we've actually just let the bleeder valve back off. So right now there's no air in it. So that was just to get in position, and now you can sort of, it's a bit more sort of malleable and you can sort of move it around a bit more and get access to under here because you can't actually drill anything while it's inflated. So yeah, deflate it once you've got it in position, and then you mark out your hole, and then once you've done the first one, then you're kind of set for the rest, and we'll show you how to do that now.
Just want to explain, so the nature of this backing plate is to actually, you've got a flap on the back of the collar here. So the collar is actually secured by this backing plate squeezing this flap that's attached to the collar against this seam. So it acts as like it wedges it against it with the nuts and bolts. But you'll see throughout the installation how it works.
So have your 10mm and your impact with your T30 bit and your drill bit as well already with some nuts and bolts, because once you get it lined up and you drill, you kind of want to work a bit quickly just so stuff doesn't move. So try and have everything sort of in the same area. I've got that there.
Right, so Andy, so we've got our backing flap here, and you want to make sure that your backing flap is pretty much level with your seam of your ski.
And when you make sure to drill the hole, it's like you don't drill too far down or too high.
So you've only got 10mm turn up on this seam here, so you want to make sure you drill right in the middle so you're not too high on the seam, so you can get the bolt to go through nice and smoothly. Yep. Where's your nut and bolt?
This first one, the first one's the hardest. That's gonna be a struggle to really move, but.
Where's that hole?
Is that drill bit big enough?
Yeah, well, it did the.
Is that the one you used?
Hey, let me. Where's the hole?
Oh, oh. You can roughly find a hole, just like.
Let me just.
I have to start spinning it. So I mean, like, I'll spin it and it should, like, make its own thread.
And out.
Oh, go through.
No. Go. Hey.
That won't work. It's such a prick.
Definitely a two-man job.
So close, yeah. Got it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, got one.
Yep.
Line the other one up.
Yep.
Cool. Now we line this up with that hole. Almost. I can see it from up here. Can't.
There we go.
Sweet, once that's in. You want to make sure the front's lined up while I tighten it.
Yeah, I think so. She looks.
So that'll just go there. Looks sweet.
Looks pretty good.
Yep. So yeah, this first one is, and once you get the first one, it's all easier from here. The first two, I'd say. Once you get the first one lined up and drilled in, then you can sort of work your way along the seam, just lining this part up here with the top of that, and then 75mm space apart. So once you get that first one lined up, it is a lot easier, but it is a bit of a mission to get this first one in. All right, come down a little bit. Spanner.
Nice.
Sweet. And yeah, so you sort of just follow this seam along the whole way around. So it's good to just have someone holding it in place and making sure this part of the flap is in line the whole way, and then someone does the drilling and doing the tightening up.
You can also use clamps as well. So you can clamp it in position and clamp it off and then drill. Or if you've got two hands, we found this was the quickest way, is just to hold it in position with our hands.
Then move it down just a little bit. So the actual collar bit come down a bit. Yep.
Nice.
Sweet. We've just put 3 bolts in. We've just inflated it just to make sure we have everything lined up, because once you drill like 3,000 of them, you can't really change it. So once you get 3 in, it's sort of, if you don't get it right, maybe you can shuffle it around. So all looks good for now. So we'll deflate it again and keep going around. So we've done that first sort of quarter on the right side, and now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side, just so the nose lines up right and make sure nothing's sort of out of place, and just keep it all square the whole way around. Instead of just doing one whole side, we'll just do it sort of right, left, if that makes sense. Yep. And you have the right tools, it makes a big difference. Yeah, it's just nice to see where it's like positioned on the ski, and just gives you like a rough idea in case something moved. You never really know, because like the first time we did some installs on this, it sort of, we didn't inflate it till the very end, and then we're like, oh, that could be moved just a slight little bit. So yeah, it's nice just to inflate it, make sure everything's sitting nice and snug, and you get to look at what it's going to look like once it's done. So it's getting pretty frothy.
All right, so we're at the stage now. We've got the two front, left and right backing plates on, but now you come down with these Yamahas. There's a little bit of a step down. It's probably like 50 to 60 mil, but you can't continue the backing plate along because it doesn't bend. So what you've got to do now is cut two smaller pieces, compensate for this offset. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut a piece to there, and then we'll do another piece to here. So we'll have two separate pieces, and then we'll continue back onto our straight length all the way back down to the end of the ski. We've worked out the contour starts about here, so we'll just eyeball it. It just has to be rough, so about there. That'll be our mark. We'll just cut it there. So we've cut out, it's about 120. Good.
So when drilling this part here, try and make sure this flap is sitting over the top of this one, just so as it comes down the curve, you can sort of pull it down a bit more, just a little bit more leverage. So
the rear flap over the front flap.
Yeah, sitting like that. That's wrong. So yeah, once we've got the two little bits, so you can see here that we've just measured that side, and then as it's angled down, we've just got a piece to it, sort of flattens back out here. And so you just got to make sure you pull this side down so it sort of overlaps that seam of the ski. But that's basically, now it's just a home run of one long piece or two long pieces the whole way along here, and it's all straight, and the bolts are spread out, I think 120 mil instead of your 75. So from here onwards, you're obviously going to do this on the other side, but along here it's super straightforward. Plastics go back on and then inflate it and you're done. So the front bit's a hard bit, now that's done, so we're good to go.
There's just, the only time you really need to pull it down is when you get to this contour in the this section of the ski here. A little bit of an offset.
Make sure that's
down a little bit.
kind of.
Spread a little bit. Yep. So we've installed the collar now. It's fully secured to the side of the ski through the seams, 50 something nuts and bolts, secure the collar all the way around. Caleb's just pumping it up to see how she sits, and then the next job is we've got to fit these straps that act with saddles, and they'll just secure to the side of the ski here just for extra support. Okay, so the next step is we've got 4 of these straps. You've got one here on the tail and then one up further on the nose. So it's like an extra attachment point basically. You can put these pretty much anywhere you like, but I like to put these out of the way so you don't step on them, you don't damage your board. So I like to put them on the side of the gunnel here. Some people have them on the inside here or up here, but I feel like that's somewhere where you could step on them. Okay, line it up, center of this pilot here. You can actually get, if you take the back seat off, you can actually get to it from under here. It's a bit of a wrestle, but you can get access to securing your nuts and bolts through here. Have you got that?
And then maybe you tighten them up and I can get the bolts on.
Yeah.
So you just make sure you don't drop the nut or washer inside. I don't have the spanner just yet. I'll just do both sides first.
Oh, you got it started?
Yeah. So yeah, once you've got it started, these lock nuts just sit there, and so just make sure you don't drop these in there because it's a mission to get them back out. But you can get access to the back of these quite easily. Sweet. Then let's grab your 10 mil.
You gonna go this one first?
Yep.
Tell me when you're ready.
Yep.
Nice.
That's still a bit loose.
You ready?
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
And this strap just goes through there. There.
Nice.
That's it. And then you can trim this with a hot knife or cut it with some scissors and a lighter to your size. But we'll just do that at the end.
Okay, so we're moving up to the front saddle. Unfortunately, we can't go with a nut and bolt option here because you can't get to behind here to do the nut and bolt up. So we go with a large pop rivet with a big head on it. So this gives it plenty of strength. So just center your saddle up with your clear. So here's your pop rivet gun, stainless steel pop rivet. Feed the head through there. Nice big flange, gives it plenty of strength. Let's put your pop in there. There you go.
Same thing with these ones. You can just trim the edges off with a knife or a hot knife or a lighter. So all done. Now we'll do the other side.
Just do that one, then we'll do the other side. Yeah. Right, so we're at the final stages of the collar installation. Now it's just a matter of putting the back panels back on.
This has to line up.
Yeah. The end, final stages of the collar installation. Just going to cut the excess fabric so it's not hanging over this collar with my heat knife. Keep it nice and neat. Alright guys, so that's it for the collar installation. That took Caleb and myself roughly 3.5 hours. I would give yourself roughly 4 to 6. They are quite fiddly, and the more you do them, obviously, the better you get at it. Be patient, because once they're on, you're going to reap the rewards. There's just so many advantages. So yeah, rip in, enjoy, and have fun.